Lads, I've got a big one for you today. I feel like this is going to be a popular video. So in today's video, I'm going to teach you how you can get so strong that they think you're on, I'm not going to say the word because of the algorithms banning certain things, but you can see it in the title what I mean. And the first thing I want to say to you before we get into any kind of science or technicalities or specifics is that you are stronger than you think you are. And I'm not saying that from some kind of spiritual plane. In this video, I'm actually going to prove to you that that is the case. I'm going to explain what I mean, and then I'm going to show you how you can tap into that hidden strength that you've already got and get even stronger. So listen, strength has a lot of different definitions depending on the context. But in the context we're talking about here today, it's your body's ability to generate force. Very simple. That's actually it. And the amount of force that you can generate, that your body can generate, is determined by a couple of things. Firstly, it's determined by the size of your muscles. But it's also determined by how many motor units you can recruit and activate in the muscle that you are trying to work. So you've got muscular size, and effectively, you've got muscular efficiency. And this is why you see guys who, they look sort of, for lack of a better word, small in air quotes. They're not small, they're pretty big, but you often see them in TikTok videos next to like real beefy bodybuilder guys, and they look small in comparison. And then they walk up to that guy and they like deadlift like twice as much as them or something like that. And the big guy's like, oh my God, how did you do that? There's a guy who, his name's Anatoly or something like that. Really good videos on TikTok, and he gets like, pretends to be the cleaner, goes up to bodybuilders and like deadlifts their PR for like 5 reps or something like that. He's a very good example of that. And this is because these guys have an insane ability to recruit massive amounts of motor units in their muscles. Whereas the guy who's got the bigger muscles doesn't have as much muscular efficiency. You see, people think of exercise as, well, just that, like exercise. But every single exercise, and particularly the more complicated ones, like the compound movements, as well as an exercise, what I want you to do is actually see them as a skill. See them as a skill of technique, timing, control, but probably more important, once you've gotten that bit out of the way, is the mind-muscle connection, okay? So we've all heard the mind-muscle connection, right? But like, are we actually doing it? So for like the average guy who might be a bit like, what is all these kind of words he's saying? Is like, the easy answer of how to get stronger is the basic stuff that you're gonna hear anyway. You're gonna see it in lots of other YouTube videos, right? So I'll run through it very quickly. I've got a list here, I don't wanna miss anything out. We eat in a small but controlled calorie surplus. We follow a progressively overloaded training program. We do compound movements. We eat a high protein diet. We maximize your sleep quality and quantity. And those are the things, those are the sort of basic pillars of muscular size and strength, right? You do all of those things and you will get stronger. You track your lifts, you eat your calories, you get your protein in, you track your macros, you train consistently, you go to the bed. You go to bed at a reasonable time, you wake up at the same time. Quantity and quality of sleep. But if you want to get so strong that they look at you and think, how the heck is this guy doing that? It doesn't make sense. Then what you want to do is this. You need to practice that movement until it becomes so subconscious that you're actually dreaming about it, that you could literally do it in your sleep. The example I use is the deadlift. So I've been deadlifting for a very long time, 10 years. And I think my brain, the way I'm wired, likes it because it's not easy, but it's incredibly simple. You're picking a bar up off the floor and you're raising it up to hip height. Like, that's it, right? When I first started deadlifting, I was terrible, as with anybody who starts any new skill. Over the years, I managed to build up to deadlifting 230 kilograms, which is, I believe, I might get this wrong, it's over 500 pounds, but it's like 550, 540 pounds. Don't quote me, sorry Americans if I've got that wrong, but it's roughly that. So it's what I'm classed as an elite deadlifter, because I weigh 88 kilograms, okay? So I'm deadlifting nearly, not quite, but nearly 3 times my body weight. My goal is to get to 3 times my body weight, because that is when you're like whoa, okay, this guy's serious. But the point is, I'm not trying to flex there. The point is that when I first started deadlifting, not only could I not pick up the weight, I couldn't do it with good form. And so what you really want to do, what you really have to do is you have to humble yourself. You have to control yourself. You have to slow things down, guys. Because you want to get to the point, like I said, where you're so good at a certain movement that you can do it in your sleep, where you're not thinking about the form. You're not even thinking about the movement. Your brain and your body are just working in such tight unison that you know it's going to take care of the rest for you, okay? Because then you can put all of your focus into recruiting as many motor units as possible. So that means when I'm going to pick the bar up off the floor, I can literally psychologically connect with that muscle, with my hamstrings, with my glutes, with my arms, with my back, because the deadlift's such a full body movement. You have to have that connection all over your body. And I can have that sort of, it's almost like conducting an orchestra with my body, between my brain and my body. And I have all that focus because I know the form is a subconscious action now. So the conscious action is recruiting the motor units, okay? So how do you get stronger? First step, yes, you do all the basic stuff. Of course you do. You don't take the drugs. You can do that, you'll get stronger 100%, but I don't recommend it because it messes around your hormones, but that's a whole other video. But then the next thing you have to do, guys, is you have to understand that strength is also about generating force, or it is about generating force, which also means recruitment of and activation of motor units within your muscle, so within the working muscle. So a deadlift is quite a complex example, right? And maybe a more simple example would be like a dumbbell preacher curl, where you've got your arm resting on the back of a bench or the back of a pad, and you're literally just curling. And a good way to do these exercises is to actually put your hand, your fingers of your other hand, on the working muscle so that you can genuinely feel that contraction. You want to aim to maximize that muscular contraction, and therefore you're improving that mind-muscle connection by doing that, guys, okay? So where are we up to? We've talked about mind-muscle connection. We've talked about what you need to do to get stronger. We've then talked about the next level above that, around that mind-muscle connection, right? And this is the bit where I want to prove to you what I'm saying is true. And I think this is kind of going to shock you. And it's going to shock you in a very good way, but it's also going to inspire you to be like, oh, wow, this is true. And this is like why you hear about these sort of legendary stories of women being able to lift cars off of babies and stuff like this, okay? So we have conscious strength, voluntary strength, but we also have involuntary strength. Because you have to remember, guys, your brain's primary role is to keep you alive, okay? So it's going to protect you. So if it sees you, if it sees you walking up to a weight and it sees it coming and you're like, right, I know what he's going to try and do, but I don't want him to do that because that could put us, the organism, the body, in danger. So I'm going to play with his mind a little bit, and I'm basically going to stop him from doing that. And you'll go up to the weight and you will consciously be like, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. But there'll be a small part of your brain, but a powerful part of your brain that will stop you from being able to do that. Okay, that's your conscious voluntary strength. They have now done studies and they use a machine called an electromyography. I think that's the name of the machine, or maybe that's the process. Sorry if I've got that wrong, scientists. I'm not a scientist, I'm a personal trainer and I'm a nutritionist, okay? But they use a machine called an electromyography. Maybe that's the process, like I said. Basically what they do is they sat down and they go, right, guys, we're gonna see how much force you can generate voluntarily. So I think the study was done on a leg extension machine. So they voluntarily get them to do a leg extension. They go, just generate as much force as you possibly can. We're gonna measure this on this machine, okay? And they do the rep, they measure the force, and they're like, okay, cool, that's your voluntary strength, right? Then, and this is where it gets a little bit sadistic, but don't worry, the subjects knew what they were getting themselves in for. They basically pass an electric current through that muscle, and they cause an involuntary movement in that muscle. And they found through doing this that people's involuntary strength was up to, not always, but up to 30% more than their voluntary strength. So when you think about that, this is obviously done in a controlled environment in a lab with, equipment and, they can measure all this stuff. But think about the basics of what I've just said there. You are up to 30% stronger than you think you are. And I think, hopefully at the end of this video, we're wrapping it up soon, coming out of this, going into the gym next time with this knowledge of, first of all, how to get stronger, not just with the, well, maybe the basics were brand new to you, and if they were, then apply those first. But not just the basics, but the more advanced stuff around motor unit recruitment, coupled with the fact that you are already 30% stronger than you think you are. And this applies to me as well, by the way. Applies to everybody. Hopefully you'll now go into the gym, and when you go to do that top set, that hardest set, you can go in with the mindset of thinking, I can do this because I know my brain is leaving some reps in the tank for me. Now, caveat, disclaimer, caveat. Don't go straight into the gym, load up the bench press with 30% more than your PR and die. Please don't do that. But guys, the lesson really here is that you are stronger than you think you are. Hopefully I've been able to prove that to you, and hopefully I've been able to give you the knowledge as to how you can now take this and apply it to get even stronger, not just than you are, than vast majority of people, so that you can leave them looking at you thinking, how the heck is this guy doing this? It doesn't make sense. Like, I'm bigger than him, but he's lifting more than me. Humble these guys, man. Trust me when I say this. Whenever I do a heavy deadlift, people, like, not always, but like, there'll be a crowd of 3 or 4 people who will stop and watch. And I'm pretty sure half of them are there because they want me to fail. But then the other half are like, fair. And they just sort of nod. There's that sort of like stoic nod between men in the gym. It's like, we won't speak, but we'll just nod. And I love that. And guys, like I say, I'm not saying this to flex. I'm just saying it gets to a point where you're doing a certain movement, could be a squat, could be a bench, could be a weighted pull-up, whatever it might be, where you're doing something that's so like out there. People are like, wait, hold on. That's his body and that's the way this doesn't add up. This doesn't make sense. What's gonna go wrong? And they'll watch, they'll be like, it's almost like you're a part of a circus act. Guys, you are stronger than you think you are, okay? So get in the gym, get it done, lift heavier, get stronger. Get so strong they think you're on. See you tomorrow.